I mean, I think kind of to sum up what we've heard and maybe ways to put into action, I have three things that I would suggest that folks do. And if you take these points away, I think you'll be in good position. The first would be just don't be afraid to engage. This issue is an important issue for the Democratic caucus, and it should be an important issue and a priority for any organization, because a more diverse workplace leads to an increased bottom line. Many organizations have been afraid to engage because they're fearful of the backlash if they can't demonstrate that they're best in class on the issue of diversity. And I think that what we heard from Erica and Joe and Will was that that's not necessary. You don't have to be best in class. You just have to be willing to discuss the issue and take a look at what you're doing as an organization. So acknowledging that you have room for improvement, and I think pretty much every organization does, really goes a long way. So don't be afraid to engage. The second point is understand where your organization is on the issue. It's impossible to understand exactly where you are or to measure any improvement unless you have a baseline. Most organizations that haven't undertaken an internal review have no idea where they stand on diversity and inclusion. In fact, many organizations believe that they're doing a great job simply because they haven't had any complaints of explicit discriminatory actions. The problem with that is there are many implicit actions that take place which lead to a less diverse and less inclusive environment. And so it has to go deeper than that. So, with my second suggestion, just understand where your organization is, do that internal review so you have a good and firm idea on those issues. My third and final point would just be to say that effort counts. Having had these conversations for years with members in the House and the Senate, with staffers that include Erica and Joe and many others, one of the things that was impressed upon me was effort counts. They understand that everybody is not going to change their organizations overnight, nor do they believe that's even possible. I think they understand that, we have a starting point and we just have to continue to improve from that starting point. So know that, while you may not be in the perfect place now, as long as you are committed and putting effort in, you'll be in a good spot. I would just round it off by saying, when I say committed, I don't mean just having a company statement explaining that you love diversity and think it's the greatest thing ever. That's not enough. The commitment has to be accompanied by tangible action that can be measured against past performance. So I think, from what we heard today, those are three of the highlights, and three things I think everybody on the Zoom today should take away and try to implement in their organizations.
Great. Now, Nicole, if you want to follow up.
Sure. Thank you, everyone. Quincy was very succinct in sort of the three takeaways that he had, and I had a few of my own. I think initially I was really struck by one point that the panel kept making about how greater diversity and inclusion fuels success for companies, leading to better results and better financial returns. So, it's the idea that you don't do this just because it makes you feel good. Or because it makes your company look good to certain people. You do it because there's concrete evidence about how greater diversity leads to creativity, innovation, and success in your bottom line. I think building on Quincy's summary, it's important for companies to really take that internal review of all their systems of recruiting, compensation, retention, and start developing that critical baseline of data. over and over in the earlier part of the panel, we heard data, data, data. And that's what you need. You need that to keep everyone accountable. You need it to be transparent. You need it to be able to explain to your other employees, we're working and we hear you and we're trying to make a change. Those goals and objectives for each of the companies need to be identified and fully integrated with the C-suite and all the employees. You need buy-in from the C-suite down to the employees on all these things. And this kind of change is not easily achieved, I think, just because it is, you know, some companies have had DEI programs around and in place for years. And yet now we really need to figure out, how do you make them stick? And how do they start to show, as they said, the receipts? This is actually our fourth dialogue for change, and our third that's really focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion issues. And all the experts that we've had who come to talk with us about DEI have honed in on the overarching sort of goal, which is to craft diversity, equity, and inclusion strategies that are authentic to your company, that are long-term, measurable, and transformative over time. And I think that's the goal. It's very difficult to do, but it is achievable. And again, I think here we got some really good tools, and companies are taking away really good tools to get that process started. We're here to help. And we know that many of you are government affairs professionals. It's important for you all to ensure that your company's responses on these issues not only invest in communities of color, but that they resonate with key policymakers. And we think and we hope that this panel helps you sort of put into context all these things, because in that government affairs role, you're sort of caught in the middle. You're not HR, you're not the C-suite, but you all are very much looking out for, what are the members going to say? I was also struck by the fact that these senior Hill staff, they knew a couple of the initiatives that companies were doing. And so I would just point out that they are looking, they're paying attention. So all of this is important to know, and I think are things that we work with our clients on in order to make sure that the members and those key staffers know what you're doing. And just again, to end up, we stand ready to partner and work with all of you on these things, as we have been doing, but we're here to just continue to work with you all and continue this dialogue that we've had, because we think it's important, and we want all of our clients and all of our friends of the firm to be able to have a very strategic program on this that speaks to policymakers, but as I said, is really transformative over time. So we appreciate all of your time today. Thank you.
Great. And then, so we've got about 60 seconds left. So kind of in one sentence, if you think about yourself as a government affairs professional that, you know, knows they need to work on this issue, wants to work on this issue, but not sure where to start, what's the one thing that you would say is the one first best step? So I'll start with Nicole, and then we'll end with Quincy.
The first step is to recognize, like I said, as Quincy said, nobody's perfect in this, and don't be afraid to really embark on this journey. This is not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it in the end. So don't be afraid to embark upon this journey and start the process of reviewing systems and collecting data.
Right. And Quincy, last word. Oh, you're on mute.
What I would do is there's two things. One is I would go have a conversation with the folks within your organization. I think you need to understand where your organization is, and if they don't have a clear understanding for how important diversity issues are, to have that conversation with them and try to make them aware. The second thing I would do is go have a conversation with an Erica or a Joe or a Will. Because sometimes if your organization doesn't understand the importance, talking to them will help give you ideas as to how you can explain to your organization how it's important. I think you have to have the backing of your organization to make something like this work. And two, you have to talk to folks that understand the issue so that you make sure that the things that you're doing are actually helping and making your organization better and improving overall diversity and inclusion.
Great. So I think there we'll stop we'll stop there. Again, want to reiterate, thank you to all of our panelists for joining us today. Erica, Will, Joseph, Quincy, Nicole, thank you. We even went over time. We probably could have kept going for another hour. So really appreciate it. For those of you on the phone, you know how to find us. Quincy and Nicole are always also an open door. So feel free to shoot any emails, any additional questions. We are stand at the ready to help on these issues. So again, thanks. And I hope everybody has a really good day.